Let us begin with this story. Director General of the Standards Organization of Nigeria, that's the S.O.N, Dr. Ifeanyi Okeke, has called for severe punishment for those responsible for building material counterfeiting, citing the alarming rate of building collapse across the country. Mr. Okeke made this demand during a stakeholders engagement program in Lagos, attributing the collapses to poor structural designs, quackery, inadequate soil testing, and unprofessionalism. Dr. Okeke emphasized the need for harsh penalties to serve as a deterrent to counterfeiters and unscrupulous builders, lamenting that poor construction practices and procedures remain the bane of the construction industry. Right. We know that the S.O.N, that's the Standards Organization of Nigeria, has an act, and the body is meant to regulate the activities of manufacturers locally, looking at the standards, and that they must go through a thorough mandatory conformity assessment program. So one would expect that what the Director General is to do is take action as against just speaking. From my perspective, though, you don't necessarily have to come out to talk tough. People want to see action. People have lost their lives, lost property. I mean, we know how much it costs to, erect a building as it is at this time. So if you're taking action and people are seeing that you are walking the talk, or you are doing what is needful because there is an act that backs your activities, you're not coming out necessarily to speak, then Nigerians will take you seriously. Because Nigerians will say, we've heard a lot of these things over the years, and not much has been seen. We're still seeing the building collapse year in, year out. So what's different from what you're saying? But that, again, of course, he needs to make his voice heard.
Definitely. When we have new persons in new positions, they tend to kind of like talk tough. They tend to register their presence, saying that there's a new sheriff in town. But just like you said, it's not basically, it's not dependent on what you really said or what you really say. It's based on what you're doing. So you walk in the talk, because having several building collapse everywhere. Since 2004, according to the agency, they said that they have actually produced 168 standards and codes of practice for building and construction industry, since 2004. So if all of these standards have been conformed to enforcement, that's it. So we won't be having, building, collapses of building everywhere, in Lagos, Sokoto, Kaduna, everywhere
across
in Nigeria.
the country.
So, and then one thing is for the S.O.N to talk tough. Another thing is for those who are in charge of, regulatory, those who are in charge of enforcing, or the states and the ministries that are also in charge or overseeing, buildings and all of that, should also be very, very, should be on their toes and doing their jobs.
Yeah, and that's where collaboration comes in. How is the S.O.N collaborating with state governments,
other agencies,
and every other bodies that are involved, that are stakeholders in this sector, such that they ensure that the standards are met? So if we have all of these laws, and then we still have the numbers of building collapse that we witness in Nigeria, then there's a problem. Then someone is lacking. Where is the weakest link in all of the processes? Who are those that we are unable to reach, or who are those that are not willing to work hand in glove with us? Who are those that are not ready to cooperate with us? Then you can begin to speak in that direction. So in all of the years, how much or how many persons have been sanctioned? Nigerians would like to know. I would like to know.
That's right. There are Builders Association of Nigeria who also see, they also see to this matter and all of the, but S.O.N should not talk about building alone. Talk about building collapse alone. There are so many other things, because the importation of inferior materials, production of inferior goods, and then when you get to the market, you see they'll tell you this is the original, this is the fake. Why should we have fake in the market in the first instance? So it means S.O.N is not doing what it's supposed to do in that regard. So they should ensure that whatever it is that they do, whatever it is that people bring into the country, whatever it is that they produce, it's of quality standards and not just say, okay, this is original, this is fake. So we want to get to see S.O.N really working as against, talking. And when we get to the market, we want to see the correct or the right products, being produced and being churned out to the market for people to consume.
Absolutely. And if it is a matter of not having the number of hands to work with to ensure enforcement and all that is necessary, then I think that they need to also channel that to necessary authorities to ensure that they get the right hands. That's or correct. Number of persons that could work with them and ensure enforcement as it is. But let's also look at another trending matter that we touched on initially, talking about Nigerians still or may still have to endure long queues in petrol stations across the country as the